Velkommen til Craft på dansk, og i dag så er det ikke så meget på dansk. I dag er det også på engelsk. Så Craft on English. Welcome to Jessica and welcome to Dan Burke. So yeah.
Sorry, you're dry.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We are here in Bornholm today, and we are so excited to have the international man of leisure, Dan Burke. I don't know where do you get that? It was
that's actually Jeff Flint,
yeah, it's
the
Jeff
Californian guy from Sweden, the naming the international man of leisure.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's only one thing I've been called. I've been called other things. Some of them not that as nice, but it's one of them.
Oh, and Jessica is pouring some.
There you go. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you dry.
Beautiful.
But let's start with you, Dan. Tell me a little bit of yourself.
Well, I guess you already know my name, Dan Burke, but I drink beer and I travel a bit, and I have a great love for Scandinavia, and not just beer, but every aspect of the culture and the people here, and mainly the people.
Yeah, I understand. Jess?
Well, you know my name. I'm Jessica, and I'm the brewer, barrel mistress, glorified toilet cleaner of Penyllan Brewery. And we're here on the little island that the brewery's on, Bornholm. It's nice to have you guys on the island.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we started the brewery back in 2015, and Christian brought over the beer here production to Bornholm as well, and that's when we started barrel aging all the Penyllan beers, and then actually started releasing them in 2018. And so far, I think I've actually only released about 26 beers or something like that.
Yeah.
But exciting stuff coming up for next year. So anyway,
Let's talk about
we'll
that
talk
later.
about that later.
I have prepared some questions, So, you're both beer travelers of the beer world. Which country have the highest quality of craft beers in your opinion? Let's start with you, Dick.
Oh, highest quality. That's a hard one, because these days, all of the countries have really stepped up. I think what I'm going to answer the question with is the biggest change, because I think something like, you could say something like Denmark or Sweden, because they've got an incredible quality, but they've had it for a while now.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually going to say Italy, mainly because I think the change over the past, say, 5-10 years has been immense in Italy.
So
it's grown a lot, and the quality now is so much better than it used to be, but also the variety. So that's one of the wonderful things, is that last time I was down in Italy, on tap, the Italian beers, I could have, incredible sour Italian beers. I could have beautiful, fresh, clean pilsners. I could have a cask ale, an Italian cask ale, and I love a cask ale. Yeah. Or all of your, your IPAs, porters, stouts, and everything. And so that was really lovely, because a lot of the time you don't actually see that range when you go to a craft beer bar everywhere. So I'm sort of saying, I don't know if I could answer who has the best quality of craft beer in the world. Yeah. But I'm saying that I think the Italians have made this incredible jump and now have an amazing range and great quality
like
as well.
Denmark have in the beer revolution for 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Or 20 years ago,
I just think it started a little bit later down there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also
because, I sort of pick and choose. Like, I could say best pilsners from somewhere. I could say the best sours from somewhere else. But overall, best. It's a very hard question. And also, obviously the last couple of years we haven't been traveling as much. So I sort of feel like I'm a little behind in knowledge as far as the different countries go. This year we've only been to Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, the US, Denmark, Sweden. Anywhere else? Yeah, I think that's most of them. Italy another couple of times actually. Yeah.
What was to Portugal as well?
Portugal, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's it this year.
Okay.
Anyway.
Dan,
So along the same line Jessica was saying, it's really tough to say the highest quality because, again, you can pick styles and who's doing them the best. I mean, obviously in the U.S. they do a little of everything, but I don't think, it's like grown immensely. Actually, in some ways, I think it's actually gone all downhill in the way that they're always trying to come up with something new, and which isn't necessarily a good thing. Not to be self-serving, but I actually think Canada has come a fair ways because they had in the earlier days much better beer than the U.S. Like when there was just macro beer, it was much better to bring beer from Canada to the U.S. because the U.S. beer is horrible. And then craft beer kind of took off in the U.S. and Canada was a little behind on that. But I think now they're catching up, and there's some really good beers that people just don't recognize because it's Canada, and who cares about Canada?
Yeah,
it's a small country. And
I don't know many Canadian beers.
Yeah, I mean, there it is.
You're raised in Canada and moved to US, and you live in Chicago right now.
Yep.
You have lived in Las Vegas. You have lived in a lot of places.
Yeah, a lot of American cities, some European cities. I've lived in
have
London,
been around.
Zurich. Yeah,
You hussy.
yeah, I am, but it's really tough because as I go to different countries, you taste the beers that are endemic to those countries, and sometimes they're really good. Like if you go to Belgium, what are you going to drink? Well, Lambic's pretty good. I mean, the quads are amazing. Like U.S. breweries attempt those styles, but they don't quite get there. So it's tough because, as Jessica was saying, there's a lot of countries that do certain styles really well.
Incredibly well.
So the U.S. has pretty good quality, but I also think there's always this need to keep stepping ahead, and I think in that they fail a lot of times in delivering actually really good beer. It's just it's another iteration of something that's been done, or they come up with something like a cold IPA. I mean, it's a stretching of styles that's not really something that's like you're thinking like, oh, well, that's so. When you're talking about quality, I think you have to go back to old world and like Germany, Belgium. And I think, to be fair, in Scandinavia, the quality of beer has come up so much. Since I've been coming, which hasn't been that long, I guess, 2014. But I think everybody's kind of raising the bar. But oddly enough, I'd say in Japan, there's there's still a lot of beer that's not quite there, but there's more beer that's like reaching like world-class status.
Okay.
Because it's a little bit still in its infancy for craft beer. But it's starting to, I think, come along more than other countries because they're here and they have a lot of room to move.
Jump to grow.
Yeah, you have just been 1 month in Japan, and I saw your pictures. So thanks. Me too.
Cheers. Thanks to my brother Marcus.
If we could do the interview in Japan, that would be great.
We do it next time.
Next time
in Japan. Yeah, on a sushi bar or something.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to Marcus, I was included in the brewski tour of Japan, and it's amazing. Really amazing in so many aspects.
That is on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Next question is for you, Dan. You live on the other side of the world, but often visiting Sweden and Denmark. Is those countries special for you? And is it the beer or is the people, or what do you say about Danish and Swedish people? Or, of course, we have to take it in beer world as well.
Well, I'll say this. It's probably my favorite part of the world. I mean, coming from Canada, I don't know, I find, communion with the people of Sweden and Denmark. But I mean, I have what I consider like family. Marcus from Brewski and his wife, but I mean, I have a love for the Danish and the Swedish people and the Norwegian people. I mean, Scandinavia is an amazing region of the world.
Absolutely,
I don't know, it's funny because when you grow up in a certain place and you live different places, you kind of gravitate towards the people that believe in the same things you do and that like, value the same things you do.
You have the same mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Scandinavia is my place. And then on the beer side, though, like what amazed me, so Denmark had a little bit of a U.S. influence, especially with Sean Hill having been here brewing at Norbro, and there was a little bit of a U.S. influence. What I kind of appreciated was in Sweden, didn't have that, but they kind of found their way around. It's like some of the Swedish breweries started brewing American-like beers, but on their own kind of interpretation of them.
Yeah.
And so I found that pretty intriguing that, the beer quality actually, and earlier on, like some of those beers I was like, wow, this is like as good as anything that's in the U.S. And they just did it on their own.
And actually, I think I was the first Danish person you learned at Warpix.
Yeah, exactly. There it is.
So, cheers, Jessica. Tell us a little bit about this beer.
I just brought a little bit of the Divinia along for us to taste. This is the 2015 vintage, so this is a beer that's actually been 7 years in the making. So we brewed this. It's actually the oldest one we've released so far. So brewed this back in July 2015 and released it a few months ago.
Fantastic.
So
It is a beautiful beer.
yeah, 15 filled up the barrel. It's a 2,400 litre Chianti Futura. And then in 2016, took a section of that out and put it in other barrels and put in, I think it was 400 or 500 kilos of black currants. So beautiful Bornholm black currants.
I saw a picture, I think Christian had taken, where you stand with your
Just-
totally
yeah,
red.
I know, and every time when I come out, of course, it always happens midway through doing it, someone comes into the bar and I just come out with like dripping and I'm like, is Christian okay? I'm like, sure. No one's seen him for a while. He's fine.
Look, try to find him. Yeah.
But then we actually left it on the fruit for the next, 5 years almost. And then dry hopped it after that.
Wow.
And then just because in 2017, we actually started tasting it, and I realised that I particularly don't like the flavour of black currants. And it's just, I was like, that's a really expensive beer. But the nice thing is that when you leave it on the fruit for so long and in the barrel and with such a low temperature in our barrel room, it really slowly developed into something totally different. And a lot of the flavours, or most of the flavours of black currants that I don't particularly like, disappeared, and you get this lovely fruit, a sort of jammy fruit flavour to it.
It's a really great beer.
And then I actually dry hopped it just to sort of tweak that aroma of the black currant as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so she's 7 years in the making, so she's my oldest lady as yet that I've released.
And a fine lady.
Yeah, exactly. She's a good lady. So I feel like she's a bit of a grandma, but she's a nice one. But so fresh for something that's so old.
The next question, Jess, is for you. Which country is the highest buyer of your beers, or how many countries are your beers for sale in?
Okay, so at the moment, once again, hard question, because obviously over the last couple of years of Corona, exports really died down. So at the moment, normally we export to, okay, let's go through this. The mainland of Denmark. I don't know if I'd call that export. Sweden. Once in a while, a little bit goes to Switzerland. Once in a while, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Italy. The Netherlands, Luxembourg.
Okay.
9.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of people sort of waitlisted to take beers. But the problem is at the moment, because we produce such a tiny amount of beer, that I always try and take care of the people that we've been working for longest.
Yeah.
And so when I release new beers, generally I will actually, depending on how much I have, people get first choices, second choices, and then the further down the list, sometimes they don't get them. So this year I haven't released many beers, and so a lot of the countries actually didn't get the options of buying them because I just didn't have enough stock. But probably at the moment, Sweden's actually probably one of my biggest buyers. I think they write to me probably about once or twice a month and say, "Can we have beer?" I'm like, no. But I'm like, I promise I will write to you guys. And every festival, they're like, "You have beer?" And I'm like, do you know what? I'm definitely going to get you guys some beer soon. But they, I think they probably buy probably the most amount, but it's also because I let them have the most amount. We work with Brill in Sweden, and they are incredibly good friends of ours as well. I think half of them also came to our wedding. But that's the wonderful thing is that we really...
the wedding in Vegas.
Exactly. China. Not the wedding in Vegas. The first wedding. So now there's been 3. So the first wedding was the big one here. Then there was the one in Australia and one in Vegas. And our new goal in life is to figure out how many places we can get legally married in.
Niagara Falls,
Well, we've already done Vegas now. So, we're legally married in the US. The next one is going to be... Oh, that's good. Yep, okay, we'll do that. The next one is going to be New Zealand, because it's the only place in the world that you can be legally married in the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Yes, sir.
And we're like, brilliant. So awesome. The next one's New Zealand. We're going to plan that a little bit of ahead so we can get... more people coming to New Zealand. But anyway, back to the question.
Yeah.
We don't export to New Zealand as yet. No. The next one on my list is definitely Japan. We're talking to the same guys that actually import Brucey over there.
Yeah. Big line.
Yeah. So because we pretty much we work with exporters or importers that we particularly like as people, and that and countries that we want to visit. And we're really, I think, privileged to be able to choose it that way. Not have to push the beers because it's such a tiny quantity. So we get to pick and choose where and who.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yes, let's go on. Next question is both of you. If you should choose one beer you like best, it's hard, I know, but which one are you always going back to?
After you.
Yeah.
I just spoke.
Well, I've giving this, thinking about that. So before I really enjoyed craft beer, I was more of a wine person, and everywhere I traveled for work, I indulged in wine. And to me, it's wine always had a place and a time. A little bit of terroir, right? It's you visit the place where the grapes came from, the wine was made, and there's something special about that. And then maybe you bought a bottle and you took it home, but it was nothing like what, to me, it's beer is the same thing. It's connected with a place and time. Where did I have that beer? And what was the time? Because part of it is, the liquid refreshment in your glass, but the other part of it is where was I, who was I with, what was I enjoying?
About the environment.
Exactly.
Also, yeah. Which friends are you with? And that's a lot of factors. So,
this might seem a little strange, but, we're sitting in, Bornholm, and Morten's Ubatiken was always a home for me. I met him on my first trip to Copenhagen, randomly actually at Copenhagen Beer Celebration. We were wearing the same shirts, the Arctic Sunstone from Alma and Three Floyds.
He's still wearing that shirt, I think. So.
He was today. But we kind of looked at each other and kind of continued on. And then the next day I was, in Copenhagen, Vesterbro, and I walked into a shop and I'm like, wait a minute. I saw you yesterday.
So was he still wearing the same T-shirt the next day?
Maybe not, but it stuck in my mind. And then then we became quite good friends. So I had at his bar, and this is going to seem odd, but I had for the first time Brewski's Mango Fever Double IPA.
Oh, yeah.
So actually, I think it was Alfred from Brewski brought in a keg, and Morton had his little blender machine in the corner and hooked it up. And I had that beer, and Morton, was saying up, oh, this is a small Swedish brewery. And the weird thing is I'd met Marcus already, but I didn't know he was Brewski.
Yeah, okay.
So it kind of all came together, and I drank that beer. And at that time, it was like, whoa, like, that's really good beer. So now every time I go to Sweden, I'm always, hey, Marcus, do you have any Mango Fever Double IPA?
So Mango Fever is your go-to...
I mean, I have a lot of like beers that I revisit, right, over the time I've been to craft beer. But it was something about place and time. Because Morton was like, oh, he grabbed me and I said, you must try this beer from this new brewery in Sweden called Brewski. And then it took me a while to put the pieces together because I'd met Marcus at Alma, but we didn't introduce, like I had no idea who, other than his first name and my first
Marcus,
name. And we shared beers around the table like this, a communal table. And then I was like, wait a minute, so it's just, so it's like whenever I revisit that beer, I revisit where I first had it, right? So it's
memories.
So for me, it's all about the connections. And like us sharing this beer now, this will be locked in my memory bank because we're here together and enjoying this beer.
That's
like
a good
this will
point.
become, so it's not just about the beer, it's about the people, but it's about everything. It's the whole, it's the whole macro sort of environment of where you tried it, what you were trying, and who you were with, and the friends you made. I don't know. It's a strange thing for me. I mean, I find it a little bit like wine. Like the beers I remember the most are the ones I shared with people I care about and have met, and
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes. It's hard one.
I've been thinking more during that.
you need more time.
No, okay. Do you know what? I'm actually gonna go for a couple of classics that are those ones that I always revisit, and when I see it on a menu, I just automatically go, "Oh yeah, that's what I want." I'm actually gonna say the Girardin Black Label. Or the Mariage Parfait. Those two, as far as, I mean, obviously I like my sour beers.
Of course.
I literally focus on just brewing sour beers pretty much. But
that give meaning.
Yeah, exactly. And these two are just very classic. What I loved when we were down in Belgium is that you could pretty much go into any bar or any restaurant and get something like that at a anywhere.
Yeah.
You go into a really random dive bar in the middle of nowhere and order a Girardin Black Label. And this, and it's such a beautifully, or both of these beers are so beautifully balanced, that you really taste every component of the beer. It's not too sour. It's just a really rounded, lovely, easy drinking sour beers, and they're just ones that I always go back to. I'll see it, I'll always buy it.
Good.
Because other than that, as Dan's saying, it is one of those ones where I can always, you go back and a lot of the time it's not so much the beer but an occasion. I was drinking that beer at this place and it was amazing. I was drinking it with this and I had this with this dish and it was incredible.
The same as Dan, memories and the place, the right place, the right people and the environment. There's so many factors where you say this is good. For my it's Schrenkler, the Rauschbier.
Well, that was the other one. I was going to go the Martin, but I sort of feel like I always say that. I want to say something different. Because that was been my answer for the last 3 years, and I'm like, no, I'm going to change it up.
Okay.
Because the Martin has been it's in my top 5 beers and has been since I started drinking craft beer or since I first tasted it.
Why don't you have it on the tap room?
We have. Oh, no, actually, we had it in bottle. Oh, wait. No, we didn't get it. No, I think we did get... No, I think we got one of the others on keg once.
Yeah.
But we did have it. So we do buy it in bulk. And generally have it hidden somewhere in the tap room. So if you know what to ask for, it's hidden in a back corner. So you can actually generally get the Martin or the Airbock at the brewery.
I have it sometimes in the summertime. I have it on tap at home because then I buy a keg and enjoy it all summer. But it could also be too much because the smoke.
You actually introduced me to the Rausch beer at Fermentoren.
Hey.
That's correct.
Yeah. And it's funny because right after that, it was readily available in the U.S. So then when I went to Beer Temple, I was like,
that's
great, they have bottles here.
Oh.
So
when I first met you,
I
I take you to Fermentoren and they said, you should try the Schrängler.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
And you said,
I did.
And I said, this is strange, but...
Smoky bacon.
Smoky. Yeah. Liquid bacon.
Yeah.
Liquid bacon. Yes, let's see. We have talked almost about the next question. But you can maybe tell some more. You've just been 1 month in Japan. What was the most exciting... I know you have told about. But what was the most exciting beer experience you...
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Japan is I just love the culture there. And people are super excited about beer. But, it's like it's mostly the beer that's coming there is imported beer. I mean, there are more and more breweries there that are doing...
Cool stuff.
Yeah, they're doing, styles that aren't typically Japanese styles like IPAs but are doing them better. But it's just the enthusiasm. But generally, about Japan, I mean, what an amazing experience because, it was just a warm reception everywhere to craft beer and to brewing craft beer and to tasting craft beer from other places. But the people are, by far is the culture and the people there. And just Japan, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say on the spectrum, they're a little bit more, I wouldn't say infancy, but they're a little bit down the spectrum as to what they're getting. But it was weird to me to go there and go into a bottle shop and see American IPAs just sitting there as shelfies because there's still a little bit of resistance, I think. Or not, resistance is maybe the wrong word. There's just, they're still kind of finding their way about what they enjoy.
It's a niche market.
But I think there's too many breweries outside of Japan that just send beer there and expect that people just love it. And, you have to tell a story.
Fingers crossed. Come on, baby, you're going to do well in Japan.
But, I mean, to be fair, Japan's amazing. I mean, the country itself, what an experience. I mean, I was very fortunate to be able to go on the Brewski tour.
Yeah. It was lovely to follow you. So.
Yeah, I'm a bit jealous. I'm going to, next time, Marcus, I want an invite.
Okay, Jess. Now we are going to talk about next year.
Oh gosh. Yeah, okay. Yep, okay. Next year.
Next year. What do we have a new beer releases for next year?
Because this year we've already packaged because one of the big things, obviously it takes a long time to make the beer, but once we actually package it, we generally leave it for about 6 up to 12 months in the bottle to re-ferment, obviously because we re-ferment in the bottle, but also to condition. A lot of the time, especially with our wild yeast, in the first short period of time after another fermentation, it gets some really unpleasant flavours. But they're all flavours that will age out. So that's why it's generally always 6 months that I will leave it in bottle before I actually release anything. So I just give it 6 months and then start tasting. So it was exciting because we actually did a tasting session the other day of my last 3 that we bottled, which is really exciting. So next year already that are almost ready now. So I'm just finishing off the labels and the names and everything for them.
Yeah, you told me earlier that you have drawn.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got Melina, which there's been some sneak previews of Melina because I bought a couple of kegs to a couple of festivals, and that was actually a single barrel, and that one's got a little bit of a history because she actually started off nicknamed the bitch, not from Melina, but because this beer. This is when I was actually trying to first brew the Mistress, and I was failing, and everything would go wrong for me in these brew days.
Okay. Yeah.
So the Mistress I didn't think happened until the third or fourth brew of the Mistress. But Melina was, I think, the second brew that was meant to be the Mistress, and I just failed. But I thought it was interesting, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to pop it in some barrels and see what happens. Yeah. And so I popped it in 6 Bordeaux barrels and tasted it every year and went... You know, it was like, it's okay. It's not interesting. It might go somewhere. And then eventually one of those 6 barrels started tasting really good. And then I had some leftover cherries from Eartha. And so I put in just a small amount of cherries because it started having this amazing fruity note to it. I was like, I just want to nudge that up a little bit. So I've got this incredible black ale that's got this beautiful tartness to it, and then there's cherry flavour to it. And it is just, it's really...
it tickles something.
It does. It's one of those ones that I'm like, a lot of people aren't going to like this beer, and I just love it. So I think there's like 170 bottles, something of it. And I'm like, I just don't want to, I don't want to sell this beer. I'm just keeping all of this for myself. No one's getting this beer. So, ignore it. You've never heard about it. The next, so then I bottled another one. So I've got one from some of our beautiful friends on the island have a schnapps company. And so they actually got Bornholmsk oak, and they toasted it themselves and did caramelized apples and then made a schnapps on that. And we actually got it, once they drained the schnapps off it, we then put a beer that we'd already aged in bourbon barrels on top of this. And so this is a little bit of a tasty one.
Yeah,
this is the first one I'm releasing with apples. We're playing around with apples a little bit because obviously it's something that grows beautifully on Bornholm.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice because it's actually got that toasted fresh oak from Bornholm as well as the barrel characteristics with that one. Okay. She doesn't have a name yet. Next one would be one berry. We just
3 beers?
4 that are almost ready.
Okay.
So then there's the berry one, which is sort of strawberry based. Okay. I don't like strawberry beers, but this one's delicious. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it's one of those ones where I was like, just tasting, I'm like, strawberry. And I just went through all of the things. I'm like, oh, it tastes like this. Yeah. Like strawberry. So it was really fun doing that one because it's amazing the strawberry notes that are coming out of it for the small amount that's
we know it from the Belgian beers. They're using a lot of strawberries.
Yeah, but see, it's not something we get a huge amount of, so I only use small amounts. Yeah. And then another one is
local stuff.
Yeah. So pretty much all of our fruit comes from the island, as much as I can get. But I mean, this island has incredible fruit. So half of it we pick from the garden, or we have incredible friends who just bring down buckets and buckets of grapes for us. We have a wonderful woman that picks all of our Mirabella plums. She's actually outsourced it to kids in the neighbourhood now, and they make all the money. These kids made a lot of money off us with Mirabella plums because we said we'll take everything that you pick.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And she charges a lot, but these kids made something like 27,000 this year.
Wow! So
these kids are doing well. I didn't get that sort of. I didn't get that sort of like stuff when I was a kid.
No,
but and
but iPhones are expensive these days.
Yeah, very true. Adele's coming back. You'll be happy to know.
I will be very happy.
Another vintage of Adele. She's a little bit different.
Yeah,
but,
you told me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm really happy with her. And then I've got another. So Adele, that one's not in bottles yet though.
Okay.
So that'll be put in bottles next year.
Yeah.
Same thing, I'll have a new mistress coming back.
Yeah.
I'll have a new earther that I'm about to bottle as well.
A new version?
A new vintage.
A new vintage,
So it still comes from the same barrel that Ursa comes from, because I always use the same barrel with that one. But it's because the first two was the same cherries. So I used it first in the 2015 vintage, but I left it in the barrel and used it for 2016 vintage as well. But after that, I emptied the 2006 vintage. I actually took everything out of that barrel and cleaned it out, put a fresh beer in. So it's still got the same culture as Eartha, and then fresh fruit as well. So there's lots of new Penyllan beers coming up this year. Next year is the year.
Looking forward to it.
No, because this year there was only 3 beers.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to actually. I'm going to have a proper range again.
But Jessica, we are still looking for that. Thing you put in your beer to make
the Penyllan fluffer.
The Penyllan fluffer, yes.
Fluffer.
I was at the Fermentoren. They were sold out.
Yeah, you should have told me. I have a range of Penyllan fluffers. That I could have easily come and given you an extra one. Next time you're at the brewery, I promise I will give you a Penyllan fluffer. For your special use.
For me only.
Yeah, for you only. Yeah, exactly. Use how you will.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Skål.
Thanks.
Cheers,
Skål. Yes, skål.
Skål.
So thank you for visiting. Watching. Yeah. We have
listening to us drone on for half an hour.
Yeah. Maybe a half an hour. Doesn't matter. Okay. Thank you. See you guys and
Cheers.
Cheers. Again.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Skål.